welcome to our channel. Today we unravel a storyline from beyond the gates that shakes the foundation of everything the Dupree family has ever stood for. Vernon felt the world collapse beneath his feet when Peaches unleashed a truth that shattered every illusion he had carefully preserved for decades. Dante was not simply an outsider, not merely a figure woven into the periphery of the Dupree legacy, but in fact the biological father of Leslie. The revelation tore through the mansion like a violent storm, ripping down the walls of certainty and honor that Vernon had clung to. The weight of betrayal pressed against his chest, suffocating him as he staggered under the realization that the daughter he believed to carry his bloodline was in truth the living embodiment of another man's legacy. In the suffocating silence that followed Peaches' words, the air within the Dupree estate became heavy and poisoned. Vernon's vision blurred with rage as memories flashed like broken glass before him. The years of devotion, the sacrifices he had made to preserve an image of control, the endless schemes to secure the family's throne of wealth and influence. His fury ignited into a storm as he turned on both Peaches and Dante, his voice trembling with the venom of betrayal though no words could soothe the bleeding wound in his pride. The man who had once commanded absolute fear within his domain now appeared fractured, unhinged, consumed by the demons of humiliation. The revelation did not merely pierce Vernon's ego, it detonated a war within the walls of the Dupree household. Loyalties once thought unshakable now quivered under the tremors of doubt. Every look exchanged, every whisper carried through the hallways became a weapon. The truth of Leslie's paternity transformed from a private wound into a public battlefield, where alliances were forged in shadows and old resentments were reawakened with brutal force. For Vernon, the betrayal meant more than the loss of face. It was the unraveling of legacy itself. His entire empire, meticulously built upon the notion of Dupree bloodline supremacy, was at risk of collapsing like a decaying fortress. Leslie, whom he had groomed as a symbol of continuity, suddenly became a symbol of division. To the outside world she was still the graceful heiress of the Dupree dynasty, but within the estate she now embodied the fracture that threatened to break the family apart. Every glance she received carried suspicion. Every gesture she made was questioned. The whispers of her true lineage spread like wildfire, infecting every chamber of the mansion with distrust. Dante, once relegated to the shadows, now stood illuminated in a position of dangerous power. The revelation transformed him from a forgotten rival into a central figure whose bloodline now pulsed within the veins of the next generation. For Vernon, this meant nothing short of a living nightmare. Every time he looked at Dante, he saw not only betrayal but also a mirror reflecting his own impotence. The fury boiled inside him like molten steel, threatening to erupt and consume everything he had fought to preserve. Peaches, meanwhile, stood amidst the chaos she had unleashed, her expression unflinching. Her words had cut deeper than any blade, and she knew there was no turning back. The family now spiraled into a descent where truth and lies intertwined so tightly that reality itself seemed to blur. What she had revealed could not be contained. It seeped into the foundations of the Dupree dynasty, eroding the very structure that held them together. The mansion itself felt cursed, its once pristine halls now vibrating with resentment, betrayal, and a hunger for vengeance. The days that followed were marked by an escalating storm of hostility. Vernon's rage did not subside. Instead, it fermented into obsession. He prowled the estate like a beast, his mind consumed with fantasies of retribution. He scrutinized every member of the household, questioning their loyalty, their motives, their secrets. His paranoia infected the staff, the relatives, and even the allies who had once trusted his leadership. No one escaped his suspicion. Vernon's empire had become a kingdom of fear, ruled not by wisdom but by desperation. Leslie, caught in the eye of the storm, found herself drowning in an identity she had never asked for. Her existence became a battleground where power and blood clashed. Though she carried herself with poise, the revelation gnawed at her. The knowledge that her life had been built on deception weighed heavily upon her shoulders. Each night she stared into the mirror, wondering who she truly was. Was she Vernon's daughter in spirit, molded by his relentless grip on control, or was she Dante's by blood, destined to inherit a legacy she had never known? The tension reached a boiling point when Vernon orchestrated a family gathering meant to reassert his dominance. He demanded that everyone stand before him in the grand hall of the estate, where chandeliers trembled with the echoes of suppressed rage. As he addressed them, his words dripped with venom. He spoke not of unity but of betrayal, not of legacy but of contamination. He declared that the Dupree name was sacred, and that anyone who dared to undermine it would be cast out, blood ties be damned. But the power of his words faltered, for the family had already begun to fracture. Dante's presence loomed like a dark shadow, silently challenging Vernon's authority. Every nod, every whisper in the crowd hinted that the tide of power was shifting. The estate transformed into a war zone of politics and vengeance. Old secrets began to surface, each revelation striking like a dagger. Affairs once buried rose to the surface. Financial manipulations, forged documents, hidden alliances all emerged in a storm that made the truth about Leslie's paternity only one spark in a growing inferno. The Dupree family, once untouchable in their influence, became their own greatest enemy. Vernon's descent into madness deepened. He no longer trusted even those who professed loyalty. He lashed out at Leslie, blaming her for existing as a reminder of his humiliation. He lashed out at Dante, seeing him not as a rival but as an enemy who had stolen the very essence of his power. His obsession with control twisted him into a figure both terrifying and pitiful, a man who had built an empire but could not escape the collapse of his own illusions. The revelation of Dante as Leslie's father did not simply fracture the family, it lit a fuse that promised total destruction. The Dupree estate, once a symbol of grandeur, now stood as a haunted fortress where secrets clawed at the walls and betrayal oozed through every crack. Every step taken within its corridors carried the weight of impending doom. Every whisper hinted at a new betrayal waiting to strike. The family was trapped in a cycle of vengeance, bound together not by love but by the chains of power and resentment. And as the storm raged on, the world outside looked in with fascination, unaware of just how deep the rot ran within the gates. For the Dupree family, the truth had become a weapon, and every revelation promised another battle in a war that would not end until the dynasty itself crumbled. This is only the beginning of the chaos that Beyond the Gates promises, where every truth is a dagger and every secret is a ticking bomb. The Dupree legacy will never be the same again, and the fall that awaits them will be as spectacular as the empire they tried to preserve. Stay with us for more shocking revelations and intense spoilers from Beyond the Gates, and remember to follow and subscribe to our channel for all the latest updates.